Hey there, hi. Marvin here once again. Thanks for coming across this YouTube channel. You are welcome. Another wonderful day, some important things to talk about as we continue to have conversations about the way forward. Um, an interesting piece of news, maybe not news so much, if you don't already know, obviously it's going to be news to you, but at the same time, I bring this back to our attention because these are things that are worth repeating and talking over and over. I think that what I present today is a permanent reference point. Um, this is something that we have to keep referring to in an attempt for us to at least learn a lesson that we won't forget. So once again, my name is Marvin. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you've not subscribed, I remind you and request you to do so. It's really going to help me to push this work forward. I'm on a mission of empowering not just Africans, but mostly Africans, black people, dark-skinned people. I'm always trying to stay away from that word black, and like I've said before, I keep using it because we've become indoctrinated with it. So if I don't use it, then people get lost, don't know exactly what I'm talking about. But really, we shouldn't be referring to anybody as black or white or anything like that, and I've said that before. Today I want to bring to your attention a popular statement. I believe this statement must have become very popular now by an African writer from Nigeria, Chimamanda. And it's in relation to something that came across YouTube. I think social media did quite a lot of noise. If you haven't caught that, you're going to catch up today. But in the video that I'm going to show you, which is the focus for today's conversation, is how Dr. Howard Nicholas explains how the West impoverishes Africa. And this is important, especially to those of us that are religious or are Christian or have some kind of inclination to God, because many of us have been made to believe that the problem of Africa is demons, it's the devil. Many people believe that poverty is a spirit. Interesting. Many people believe that the sufferings of Africans or any other place of suffering, but in particular Africa, that the problem is the devil. And so they've kept our energies being invested and spent on binding a devil that we don't see. But the devil that we see right in our backyard, we do nothing about it because we've been deceived to think that those people are not the problem is the devil. And yet the truth is that the opposite is what the reality is. And so this is why I bring this to your attention. And it's for this reason, and for Christians, people that are religious, this is very, very serious because the Christians are not helping for people to deal with things the way that we're supposed to deal with things, to face the situation as it is in reality, to do something practical about it. Instead, we keep on doing spiritual gymnastics and making people believe that things are eventually going to change. They're not going to change. And this is the reason why the president of Kenya, I believe the first president of Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta, said that white people taught us to pray with our eyes closed. And when we opened our eyes, we had the Bible, they had the land. So essentially giving us a piece of history lesson there, saying that when these people came over to Africa, we had land, we were prosperous. And then they used Christianity, they used spiritual language. And then there was an exchange. We were suddenly poor. But more about that another time. I want you to take time now to listen to what Chimamanda said to an audience of big people, dignitaries in Germany. And I'll come back after this one. Listen to this one.
When we talk about this art that was stolen, we're told that they cannot be returned to Africa, for example, because Africans will not take good care of them. It is not merely condescending to say, I cannot return what I stole from you because you will not take good care of it. It is also lacking in basic logic. Since when has the basis of ownership been taking good care of what is owned? This position is paternalistic arrogance of the most stunning sort. It does not matter whether Africans or Asians or Latin Americans can take care of the art stolen from them. What matters is that it is theirs.
All right, so there you have it. You know, it's really uplifting and encouraging to see that there's so many black voices now just becoming bold and calling a spade a spade. And again, I ask the church, where are you? Why does it have to take people who have not been called by God to speak for people who are treated unjustifiably? Why does it have to take people who are not commissioned by God to speak? And those who are commissioned by God don't speak against injustice. Why is it the opposite? And so this should really be a wake-up call for the church. Anywhere in the world, whether it's in America, it's in Africa, it's wherever, we are called to speak against injustice. Injustice is at the heart of God. God desires equity. And so we have to speak about these things. And so Chimamanda's message there is clear. And this stealing has left me so puzzled. I keep wanting to figure it out. Why are these people this way? Is it a mental issue? Is it a heart issue? What is it? And eventually I'm going to get to the bottom of what the problem is, because I think I've figured out what the problem is. Because this chronic habit of taking what doesn't belong to you is not normal behavior. It isn't. It's not normal behavior. People should actually go in for psychiatric counseling or psychological counseling. It's a sickness. That's what it is. It's a deadly sickness. And we're going to uncover how is it that these people are like this. We're going to uncover that. But now I want to take you to another clip, and this one is even more serious, because now this one is a confession of what the West, how these people actually steal in ways that look like it's business, it's diplomacy, it's foreign affairs, whatever you want to call it. But it's actually theft, it's stealing. Watch this and I'll come back.
Dr. Howard explains why the West and China wants Africa to remain poor.
Africa, historically, sub-Saharan Africa, has been fundamental to the global prosperity of the advanced countries. Okay? And Africa had a role to play. It has a role as a raw material producer. We will not allow sub-Saharan Africa to escape that. Okay, we do everything to keep sub-Saharan Africa where it is, also impoverished. It's absolutely vital for the prosperity of everyone else. So let's get clear about that. Okay, and this means all the economic structures, all the global institutions, and the economics we teach everyone is all designed to keep Africa exactly where it is. And whether it is Europe or US or now China, it's always the same. We need Africa to be impoverished because we need those raw materials and we need them dirt cheap. Okay, so that's the message. It doesn't mean to say that there's nothing Africans can do. Of course there is. Okay, but this is the opposition that they're fighting. This is what it's about. Because if Africa does do something different, I assure you living standards of all those in Europe and North America and Asia is going to fall. Okay? And that is a big price to pay. I assure you that the West is not going to allow that without a big fight. Okay, so this is what it's fundamentally about. What I want to show you is how these structures are operating. It's just 20 minutes, so we can't do very much, but just to give you a little bit of an idea. And why I keep the ideology part there is because we are part of the producers of ideology. At universities and academic institutions, we are complicit in this whole enterprise. Okay, so the job of many Western academics is to convince Africans they have to keep doing what they're doing. Okay? And to show them it's your fault that you're poor. It's not our fault. It's your fault that you're poor. You know? So this is what we do in academic institutions, and I want to show that as well. We just start. This is what it's basically about, so you know what it's about. But I want to just show you the extent to which Africa is specializing in the production of raw materials and basic agricultural goods. We know the basic forces that have caused this underdevelopment. We know it's colonization. I will not discuss that very much because my colleague speaker is going to go into some aspects of this. But I do want to discuss the global economic structures, the global financial institutions, and economic ideology, briefly, to give you a flavor of those. The thing that you really need to see is the top line. Okay? And the extent of dependency is captured by this statistic at the top. Okay? And you compare it with all other income groups, and what you see is essentially in that one statistic how dependent sub-Saharan Africa is on raw material production. Okay? This is the very heart of what makes sub-Saharan Africa beat. Okay? Here, just to have a look at one very important additional statistic, with all this export coming from sub-Saharan Africa, how much does sub-Saharan Africa account for in terms of global trade value? We know there are vast resources coming from there, but look at the bottom line in terms of global trade value. Look at that. 0.5%, 1975, 0.95%, going down to 0.1. To 0.1. Meaning that with all these vast resources being produced, how much are they getting for it? Nothing. Nothing. This is a very significant piece of data. Then I just want to show you what has happened to sub-Saharan Africa, because what we know, and from all studies, no country ever develops without manufacturing. Okay, producing raw materials will not take you anywhere. Producing basic agricultural goods will not take you anywhere. And let's have a look at how much manufacturing activity takes place in sub-Saharan Africa. We can look over the last 15 years, 20 years. And we see manufacturing has actually declined as a percentage of the total. This is percentages of total production in sub-Saharan Africa. How much of it is accounted for by manufacturing? So this figure here is 17% of the total. Most of the rest, when we talk of industry, it includes manufacturing, but the bulk of it is mining. Okay? Raw material extraction. This is the bulk of it. And here we see actually raw material extraction has stayed the same. What has caused industry to fall is the fall in manufacturing production. This is deliberate because we will never, as Western economists, as Western policymakers, we cannot afford to allow Africa to industrialize and start producing manufactures. Okay, so we will do everything to stop that. And I'm going to show you how we actually block that. It's obvious in certain ways, but it's less obvious in other ways. Now, we have actually seen periods of rapid growth in sub-Saharan Africa, misleading people, saying, oh, you know, we're now doing much better. And this has happened recently. Recently, I've had students come and tell me, we've done much better now. And you can see growth rates rose quite sharply. in recent times now are starting to go again down. But if you look historically, the same thing happened earlier. Why? Because in these two periods, we had East Asian rapid industrialization processes. So in the earlier period, we had Japan and Korea and Taiwan. Okay, rapid growth, sucking in raw materials from Africa, driving up the prices, and then sub-Saharan African countries grew. Exporting raw materials, they grew. But after those countries finished industrialization, then sub-Saharan African growth rate again fell. Okay, but along comes China. Next wave. Okay, again, sub-Saharan African growth rises, but now China is going down. As many of you now know from the press, China is going down. But sub-Saharan Africa is going down even faster. And we're going to go back to where we were again, with very low prices of raw materials, very low growth rates, and again, the sorts of poverty that we saw once before. Because, bottom line, sub-Saharan Africa is condemned to this role, just the supplier of raw materials, not a manufacturer.
Oh, yeah. So in closing, I mean, what else do we need to add to that? It explains itself. Again, I come back to the church. Believers, Christians, spiritual people who think they will just be binding the devil. And I said earlier on, up until now, we still believe we should go into a building, just be binding the devil, and Africa will become rich or stabilize. It won't. There has to be a physical, verbal confrontation of these things. We can't be addressing a devil we don't see and not address the devil that we see. We're still doing the same thing that Jomo Kenyatta said. White people taught us to pray with our eyes closed. Because when you go into that building to bind the devil, your eyes are closed. You don't see what's going on outside. And when you come out, they have the land. So while you are in that building binding the devil that you don't see, who doesn't even know what's going on earth, they are doing practical things in the field and taking the land and minerals. And so I think that there's hope. Things are beginning to change, but it's still sad to see that the church isn't addressing these things, is not preaching about these things, is not... Listen, scripture actually talks about, in Isaiah, talks about how shepherds are dumb dogs. That's how serious it is. Isaiah talks about shepherds who are dumb dogs. They've been put there to guard people's lives. And yet thieves walk into the yard, walk into the house, and take anything they want, and they don't bark. We as believers, spiritual people, Christians, should be barking about this every single day. The reason these people have been encouraged to just keep on doing anything they want is because those who should be barking are not barking. We're not speaking against injustice. Injustice should break our hearts. We should be calling out these people every single day. The reason they've continued doing this is because nobody confronts them. And now that time has come to stand up and speak against all these injustices. I mean, Howard Nicholas putting it plain. It's as simple as that. It's simple and straightforward what they do. You don't even need to figure it out. It's straightforward what these people do. They come in the name of friendship, in the name of diplomacy, into Africa. Have you ever even asked yourself, why do they always come to Africa? Africans never go there. And then Africans open up their doors, give them free land, give them free visas, no tax, but they don't allow you to do it there. Doesn't that tell you that something is fishy? But I'm glad that things are turning around. I'm going to refer to a video that I will do on Dambisa Moyo's book, Dead Aid, where she talks about how these people actually promote corruption in Africa, how they need corrupt leaders in Africa, how they actually bring corrupt leaders into the offices of the presidency and other government positions to be able to use them as pawns to continue stealing resources and every other thing. So why is this? why is it such a part of these people to take what doesn't belong to them? Is it witchcraft? Is it kleptomania? Is it an addiction to stealing? What is it? Like I said, we'll pinpoint what that issue is. But this is something that all of us should be thinking and screaming out loud. Why are you addicted to stealing? Why? We have to, that one of the things I've learned is that a lot of people don't want to engage in these things because all they care about is themselves. And I want to invite you, for a moment, please stop thinking about yourself. This is about posterity. This is about future generations. You can't be a responsible citizen or responsible parent or responsible anything if you cannot think about the future. If you cannot act for the future, act for generations to come. This is the reason I do this, is to position us for the activism that we all need to engage in vigorously. Every single one of us. And I'm glad that now there's such a sense of unity beginning to build up among black people. And there's even other people coming in. Latin America is coming in, holding hands with Africa now, saying, look, enough is enough. The world has suffered for too long at the hands of these people. They have stolen and stolen and stolen, and still they don't have enough. And still it is not enough. How much do you want to steal? And you have to ask yourself, why can't you just do business the straight way? Why is it difficult to just make cordial alliances? Why is that difficult? Why is that difficult to just get into arrangements of mutual benefit? Why is that difficult? Why are these people so insecure? And you can see that now they are panicking. The insecurity now is even getting worse because now they're realizing everybody's empowering themselves, they're waking up, they're panicking even more. Anyway, let me stop it right here. Let me hear what you think. Let's continue to share ideas. I'm enjoying conversations with you guys. You're bringing in very, very interesting thoughts and ideas. And in the coming videos, I'm going to be talking about actions that black people now need to take. Real actions to really just stop this injustice. Even if it means we come to a place where Africa has nothing to do with Europe. Completely shut doors. You stay over there, we'll stay over here. Enough is enough. It has to come to that point. Because these people are going to stop at nothing. It's like these things, stealing, oppressing, killing, destruction, it actually brings you to a point where you begin to think, does the devil even exist? And I'll stop right there. Let me hear your comments and your thoughts as we continue to converse. For now, I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.